Sales Plan Bootcamp is a product that we have delivered through unique venues for several years prior to the pandemic. In fact, we did our last Sales Plan Bootcamp in January of 2020, and we're not gonna necessarily, know for sure that Sales Plan Bootcamp was a spreader event, but there were 3 or 4 people that were at Sales Plan Bootcamp that did end up getting COVID right thereafter. So that was right in the kind of the early days of us all not knowing really what we were supposed to know about COVID. But fortunately, everybody pulled through and is good. And we took a break from it during the pandemic, obviously due to the travel restrictions in the beginning, and as well as the budget restrictions that people were facing. But now that everything seems to be back to whatever we're calling this new normal, we're relaunching Sales Plan Bootcamp again. There are some changes to it that I'm going to highlight today, some things that we really spent our time during the last couple of years asking ourselves, what's the right way to deliver something like this to our clientele, to the individuals that are looking for this experience. And I think we've come up with a really great concept and format for how this is going to work. And I think we're going to deliver really excellent value to those people that choose to attend. Our agenda for today is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what Sales Plan Bootcamp is, go over what the format for the camp will be so that you understand kind of what's expected and how it's going to work. I'm going to show you what the sales action plan deliverable actually looks like, which is the end goal of what we're all trying to achieve here. Talk a little bit about the cost for attending Sales Plan Bootcamp and what you get for that cost. And then finally, just share a timeline for where we go from here to open registration, get people in, and actually then execute both the pre-work and the on-site work that's required as a part of Sales Plan Bootcamp. So first of all, who's Sales Plan Bootcamp for? Well, it's designed for any individual who's tasked with sales activities for their venue. So that could be your full-time job. That could be a part-time role that you have or a responsibility that you have in the midst of a whole bunch of other responsibilities that you have. It could be that you supervise someone that does sales activities, or you've got a new person coming in, but you want to have a handle on the best way to set them up for success, or even to hand them a plan when they walk through the door and be ready to go. It can be for veteran sales professionals, or it can be for brand new sales professionals. A lot of times people at venues, they didn't necessarily come from a sales background. And so in some cases, this is a great way of kind of brushing up on some of the basic sales and outreach techniques, and then developing an action plan to implement sales and outreach strategies that get you where you want to go. Sometimes you're a veteran sales professional and you change industries and you end up, let's say, in higher education, and all of a sudden they just ask you for a whole bunch of different information about budgeting and return on investments, and you have to justify every expense that you want to spend, and it's just totally different world maybe that where you came from. And again, Sales Plan Bootcamp can help you really think about how to develop budgets and return on investment, and put together actionable items that really justify the request that you're going through. So again, really anyone that has a sales responsibility, no matter how new you are to the field or how many years you've been doing it, can find some value in Sales Plan Bootcamp. What it does is it establishes the framework for foundational and targeted marketing, sales, and outreach activities. So again, if you're a veteran professional and you've been doing this for a lot of years, you know what you need to do when you go off and do it. But a lot of times that's just lives up here, and you have this plan in your head, or you just kind of know the kinds of things that you do. This walks you through the full framework of all the things that are potential targeted marketing and outreach activities, and helps you build a plan around it, something then that you can use to follow. If you're like me and you're getting a little older, not everything stays up here as crisply as you'd like it to. And so sometimes you forget about some things that maybe you were going to do or you want to do. So the plan helps capture that. If you're new, this is incredibly valuable to be able to sit down and look at a 3-year plan that kind of builds from, do I have all my foundational tools and strategies in place? And then how do I start to look at the different market segments out there that are most relevant or most highest return for me? And then actually engage in sales and outreach strategies that are designed to attract them, build interest, and get them to a booking stage. As a part of the Sales Plan Bootcamp, we're going to provide you with a template for a 3-year sales action plan in Microsoft Excel. that will be used to build all of the strategies that you're going to implement that are unique to your venue. I mean, we're going to use a lot of kind of generic ideas that come into play in the different areas, and we're going to provide you with tangible strategies that work. But you're also going to take your local knowledge of what's going on in your community, in the various organizations and planner organizations, and the different outreach mechanisms that you may have that are unique to where you're at, and layer those into the plan so that you have something that's customized and unique specifically for your venue. And again, what's great about this is that that is something that you can use. You can assign tasks or assign strategies to other people. If you move on, someone coming through the door doesn't have to, hopefully you put what was in your head down on paper. Like, they can come in, they can see the plan, they can keep it up and keep going with it, or you got to go out on leave, whatever it is. This gives you a tangible product, or if you're a supervisor of a sales team, this gives you a way of kind of monitoring and measuring what's going on within that group, and what are some key performance indicators, some KPIs that you should be expecting around the kinds of outreach, the kinds of contact, the kinds of revenue potential that come from the various activities that individuals are engaged in. And finally, it's going to assist you then with budgeting and calculating return on investment for all the different sales and outreach strategies that we do. And again, we'll walk people through kind of the methodology for thinking about how you develop a budget for those activities and what the ROI in each specific strategy might look like. Moving on, Sales Plan Bootcamp has 5 core concepts that we're going to explore throughout the course. The first is a sales plan framework. So kind of what is a sales plan all about, and why are we building one, and what do we plan to do with it? The second core concept is the foundational sales and outreach initiatives. So these are things that oftentimes you have to have in place, like a website, like a social media strategy, like a home for your videos that you develop, like digital assets, whatever it might be that you're using as sales tools that are going to be really critical as you start to develop the strategies for the targeted markets that you want to activate. So we go through that, then we move into the core concept of targeted sales and outreach activities. So now, which are the target markets that you're going after? Or, you're going after all of them, but which ones are you going to focus with more strategies in, and which ones are you going to focus with less on? And what are you going to prioritize first, and what are you going to do second and third? We'll then move into the actual sales plan development, and making sure that you actually build in the Excel template an actionable plan that has the data and the numbers and the justifications that you can explain to others around you, or a supervisor or a finance director, or whoever's got to approve some of the expenditures you may be looking to make. And then finally, we're going to do just a small concept around project management. I'm calling it Project Management Light. So that gives you, again, if you've not had a project management background, some ideas on how best to take this 3-year plan and put it into practice, as well as then managing not only yourself, but any others that might be involved in the sales process. Each of those concepts has anywhere from 1 to 12 competencies then that are developed through individual modules. And here is the list of the competencies, and I'm not going to go through them all, obviously, but you can see that for each one, so for the sales plan framework, there's 3 competencies that we're going to kind of go into, which kind of start to set the stage for why are we doing this? Who do we think are our primary and secondary markets? And just a refresher on, what are we trying to do with this plan to move people through the sales funnel? So how do people enter the funnel, and how do we move them through each of the stages, and what are the kinds of activities that relate to that? We then move into the foundational marketing and outreach strategies. And again, we use the word marketing in some of this stuff. We're really not expecting people here to be marketers. This is really designed for sales professionals. But you're going to have to be able to talk to a marketing person, if that's not you, about what you need out of some of the marketing elements that go into a sales action plan. So again, we may not be expecting you to develop your own website, but you need to talk to the people who do and help them understand why it needs to evolve from where it is to what you need it to be to actually function as a sales tool. So you can see in the foundational stuff, we've got different competencies there. They're going to touch on setting the stage for you to jump into more direct, more activated, and more targeted outreach and sales strategies for each of the markets that you're interested in pursuing. The third competency is the targeted sales and outreach. Now in here, you'll see some of the information, some of the competencies are in orange. So the competencies in orange are going to be those that are going to be handled when we're on site together in New Orleans. So everything up until 3F is all occurring before we set foot in a room together in New Orleans. I'm going to talk about a little bit about how that's going to work in just a couple of minutes here. And then when we're on site, we're going to actually do the work of building the plan. And this is one of the big changes from the past. So it used to be that Sales Plan Bootcamp was a week. You showed up, there were different lectures and exercises and things like that you went through every day. Then you were kind of supposed to use your time outside of those things, like in the evenings at the hotel or in the morning before breakfast or whatever you were, to get your sales action plan done. What we've done is kind of flipped it a bit to be more what education in 2023 looks like. And we're taking sort of a hybrid approach to this. So we're going to do a lot of the work up front online using our Canvas learning management system and using a combination of synchronous and asynchronous exercises to have you fully prepared so that when you come on site, it's almost a flipped classroom concept. So there will be some small lecture exercise things that go on with each of these competencies, but really the idea is that then you take what you've already learned and what you get in that little section on corporate or that section on Smurf, and you sit down and you actually start building the strategies and putting them into your spreadsheet. And while that's going on, Chuck Salem, the CEO of Unique Venues, and myself will be circulating through the room, acting as coaches and support people and sounding boards for the work that you're doing to make sure that you build the best plan possible. Because in the past, we would have people leave Sales Plan Bootcamp having not finished their sales action plan. And unfortunately, we all know what happens when you go back home, you get busy and those things sit and they never get completed. And our goal is that 100% of attendees will leave New Orleans with a fully developed 3-year sales action plan that you can go back and start working on right away. And that's what we're going to spend our 2 days there doing. So these are the kinds of competencies in the targeted sales and outreach. We also have some sales plan development competencies. You'll see that 2 of them will be handled ahead of time, and then 3 of them will be handled on site together in New Orleans. And then when we're all done, there will be 1 follow-up session, again, online, probably done synchronously, if I remember correctly, on project management light. And so those are the competencies that you can expect to walk away with in Sales Plan Bootcamp. Program delivery. As I've kind of alluded to, there are 3 distinct delivery windows that we're going to follow. So the first delivery window is September 11th through October 27th. And that's where work is going to be done remotely. So you will stay where you are. You will log into the system, into Canvas, and you will have a series of videos to watch or exercises to complete or worksheets to download and fill out and be ready to bring with you on site. So that we can get to all of the pre-work necessary so that you are really ready to show up and do good work when you get to New Orleans on October 30th and 31st. So you would plan to arrive on the 29th, which is a Sunday. We would do this Monday and Tuesday, and then you could depart either Tuesday evening or Wednesday morning, unless you are sticking around for UVMC, which again, I'll highlight there in the timeline at the end. But that's the on-site portion of this. We're not going to stream that. It's not going to be broadcast live. We're not going to try to manage someone from a distance on October 30 and 31. It's just going to be too complicated for the kind of work that we're doing here. So if you make the commitment to Sales Plan Bootcamp, you're really making the commitment to be there for those 2 days. And then post on site is remote work again. There's the project management light, and Chuck and I will continue to do active coaching for the next couple of months as you need it. So again, if you've gone back and made some changes or you have a couple questions as you start getting into it, Chuck and I are available to meet with you to be able to continue to support you in launching and getting that 3-year action plan underway. All that remote work will be managed in Canvas, and so you'll get login credentials to our version. It's a Unique Venues version of Canvas. And the modules in there will be set up to be either asynchronous. Asynchronous means you do it all on your own time. Now I will time them and schedule them so that they're kind of releasing every few days in that 7-week period, 6-week period, whatever it is, so that there's kind of a schedule for staying on track with stuff. But some of those modules we're also planning to do synchronously for those that are able to attend. So what we will do for some of them, because we really feel like there's a level of engagement and back and forth that we want to promote with some of these competencies. So Chuck may present something, I may present something, Todd Wonders or Allison Dello may present something depending on the topic. And we'll set up a day and time where people can log in and participate live with us, but we'll also record those. So if your schedule doesn't allow for you to do it, you can watch the video and do the exercises or the assessment or whatever it is on your own time if you can't make. But we did want to offer that as a part of this, some more opportunities to engage with us and for us to engage with you and get those questions answered or help really dive into some of the points when we're working together remotely. And each module then will include a set of learning objectives that we're trying to accomplish with each of those modules. And each module may then also include learning objects. So that might be handouts or different things, readings, different things that you're doing. Could be an assignment that you have to do, or it could be an assessment that you have to complete just to kind of show that, okay, you've mastered this competency. Please know there's going to be no high stakes assessments in this. So these are just kind of our way of making sure that someone is logging in, doing the work, paying attention to what's going on. It's almost like, I hate to say this, I had a traffic school a few weeks ago. You know, the traffic school assessments for the online traffic school are definitely low stakes, but they keep you just honest enough to make sure that you actually watch the 12 different videos or read through the slides or whatever it is from the topic that you happen to be on. That's our goal in this too. Again, it's not that we don't want to, you know, be waving our fingers at people and saying, you're not. We want to make sure you're prepared when you come on site, because again, we're not going to have time when you get on site to be able to catch you up on the things that you were supposed to learn and know before you got there. We're going to hit the ground running because our goal is 100% completion of that 3-year sales action plan. Okay. Now, you're probably going, oh my gosh, what is this going to do to me? Well, so as I've developed all of the modules and the necessary work and things like that, the remote work is estimated at 16 hours total across that 6 to 7 weeks of pre-work. So that's 2 to 3 hours per week on average that you'll need to spend on that. Now, depending on your individual situation, that might be something that your boss, your supervisor is going to allow you to do during work time. Might be that you're coming in an hour early a couple days a week and knocking some things out or staying an hour late. But it's not going to be anything that's crazy. We are planning to do the synchronous versions during the workday because, again, we respect the fact that for a lot of these people, this is your job, this is work, and you probably should be doing it during your workday. But it will be available to you to watch if you're unable to make that happen. But 2 to 3 hours a week is the commitment that we're looking for up front so that you can be ready. The on-site work is estimated at about 13 hours. So you can see we're there for 2 days. So that's going to be roughly 2 6-hour days or so. So we won't get started first day. We'll probably get started at like 9. We'll run 9 to noon. We'll have a lunch. We'll run 1 to 4. Maybe some people will stay until 5, right? Some of this is self-guided or some of this is do at your own pace. And Chuck and I will be there to coach. But again, we've given you kind of an estimate. So total is roughly about 29 to 30 hours of work that goes into developing a 3-year sales action plan, which if you think about it, probably makes a lot of sense, right? If you were to sit down right now, if your supervisor said, develop a 3-year plan for what you were going to do in the sales and marketing world, you'd probably spend a couple of full days, 2 or 3 full days working on it and going back and refining it and doing some research and things like that, that would put all of that together. Now, the sales action plan, just to give you a quick glimpse into what it looks like, as I mentioned, it is a Microsoft Excel template. And what we do is we do a separate tab for each targeted outreach strategy. So here is a sample outreach tab for film and television that has 4 initiatives on it. And for each initiative, then you can see there's information below that summary block that says, what is the initiative? What are we doing with that initiative? And then notes on the right side about what the budget might be for. And that could be actual hard costs, or that could just be some estimates like it is for F4 there for travel costs and small giveaways for the prospecting piece of this. And so again, that's the work you'll be doing, is you'll be coming up with the initiatives. Again, if you're into film and TV, you can see a couple of these already are going to be relevant to you. It's just that you'd change out New York for whatever state you're in F2, and you'd update the budget information for what your travel would look like. Let's say you were in Arizona like I was, but you were thinking you were going to drive over to Southern Cal twice a year and hit production studios and film scouts and other people, location scouts and things like that. Obviously, I'd update that. But there may be other things depending on where you're at, other initiatives that you develop unique to your geographic area that would go into your film and television targeted marketing outreach strategy. So that's the work that we're going to be doing. And then you put in a budget and you put in an ROI number for everything. And you're getting a quick little sneak peek here because the way we do prioritization is that blue is year 2 activities and green is year 3 activities. So you can see in this case, film and television was kind of a secondary market and wasn't something that a venue felt they needed to do right away. And so nothing's happening in year 1 with this one. And then in year 2 and 3, these activities come online with budget and ROI number. So there's just a quick glimpse into what the actual sales action plan document is going to look like. And because it's an Excel spreadsheet, then it's very easy to add columns on the end of it, to assign these strategies to various team members, to keep track of your progress. I'm 30% complete, I'm 80% complete, to put in yield numbers. Hey, I booked a group for $75,000 and I just want to keep track of that in relation to this strategy. However you want to do it, we'll be talking about that in project management. You will have the ability to build that out and keep track of that information, not only for your own benefit, but to report out to others at your venue or in your organization about the success of the marketing and outreach strategies that you're putting together. Okay. Program cost is $2,000 plus travel expenses. So the $2,000 covers the program registration and everything that you need as a part of that. What you get from that is enrollment into Canvas and access to all pre-on-site materials. You get the sales action plan template. You get the on-site instruction and support. You get personalized coaching from Chuck and I, and you get the final 3-year sales action plan. 2 lunches are included as a part of that, but you've got to get to New Orleans, you've got to pay the hotel, and your breakfast and your dinners are on you. Again, compared to other programs out there, we think this is incredible value for what you're going to get out of it. Not only the material itself, walking away with a 3-year sales action plan, but also the access to the coaching and the support throughout, both through all the pre-work period, on-site, and afterwards from Chuck and I. And then finally, the timeline. So registration for Sales Plan Bootcamp is going to open up on June 12th. What's good about that is that anyone that registers and wants to be invoiced for that, it'll be net 30. So if you're a July 1 fiscal year start, that means if you want to pay for it out of next fiscal year, you can. If you want to hurry up and be invoiced and pay for it out of this fiscal year because you got some budget left over, you just let us know. We'll get you that invoice right away, and you can go ahead and route it through your procurement team and get it paid. So we're giving you the flexibility to choose which fiscal period you'd like it to come out of. Week of September 4th, sometime during that week, you'll get an invitation for your entrance to Canvas. And there will be an orientation to Canvas in there that'll be self-guided. It'll just be a small module that you'll complete just to familiarize yourself with the system and make sure you know how to access the materials that are in there. From September 11th to October 27th will be the remote work. Again, we will release modules. They won't all be available up front, but we will release them every few days according to kind of the right pattern for how much time they're going to take for people to complete, so that you get all that work done before you get there. Be on site in New Orleans, October 30 and 31. If you are planning to attend UAVMC, that works in nicely because you can have Wednesday as a day off to get your brain reset, hang out in New Orleans a little bit and visit, and then on the 2nd and 3rd, participate in UVMC. And then finally, from November 6th to December 1 is kind of the wrap-up phase. That's where we'll do that project management light session and continue to provide coaching support to those of you who need it. So that's kind of all the information that you need to know about Sales Plan Bootcamp. Whoops, I'm on the wrong slide here. Let's go. There we go. Are there any questions? So again, I haven't seen anything come in on chat or in the Q&A, but if you do have any questions, this is your opportunity to ask them. And I'll give people just 30 seconds or so to type in something if they have something. If not, I appreciate everyone's attendance and time today. If you do have questions that you're not comfortable asking here in the chat or the Q&A, go ahead and shoot me an email at joel@uniquevenues.com, and I'll be happy to answer them that way. I will send out the slide deck for this so that you've got it to everyone that attended today. And if there is anyone else in your organization you think that this would be useful for, there is another information session happening next week on Tuesday, June 6th, where they could attend and kind of hear all the information again. And again, we'll go live with registration on June 12th. Looking forward to hopefully seeing some of you at Sales Plan Bootcamp. And again, any questions, just let me go. Thanks and have a great afternoon.